Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the One Step Better Business Podcast. I am Mike, and with me is Matt. It's Mike and Matt Hour. How's it going?
What's up, Mike? How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, Looking forward to jumping into this topic. Trust is one of, if not the most important thing that we can build as a brand, especially as it relates to how our client sees us. In our organization, an accounting firm and payroll company kind of lumped into that professional services category. If we don't have trust, our customers start to walk. Because without trust, they can't rely on anything that we're doing, and they rely on us to do some pretty important stuff as it relates to the operating of their businesses. So today, what we're going to talk about is the importance of building trust with our clients and our customers, how we can do that, how we can maintain that, how we can monitor that over time. But we can't just jump straight into a heavy topic like that, because that would be lame. Instead, we're going to go a little bit more lighthearted. Oh, I don't like this question, but we're going to go with it anyway. What sport do you think that you have the best chance of going pro in?
Now at 50? Not a lot, man. I'm kind of too old to do anything.
I like how your answer was, at 50, I have no chance of going pro in anything. But, at 40, I definitely had a shot.
No, 40 was not. 30. I still think I had a shot of going pro in baseball back in the day.
Baseball pros don't count, because going pro in baseball means that I can be on a single A team making $10,000 a year riding a bus around the country.
They pay you to play a game.
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah,
I think I could have if I would have been smarter at the time and more mature.
How many times do you think that you have said the phrase, "if I was smarter" in your life?
A lot of times. Today, I've said it a lot of times. So I can't imagine, how many times. If I was smarter, that should be a frequently thing I should say.
So you think in your prime that you could have gone pro in baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I was close.
Yeah,
I didn't work real hard in hindsight.
Yeah,
so knowing what my son has done at his age versus where I was, and how much he's worked harder. He was not as talented as I was, and he's worked harder. If I worked like him and was talented, I should have been able to do it. I was a really good high school player. I was a pretty average college player, but I did zero work to make myself better.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
hindsight.
I said I don't like this question because I have no answer. There is no sport that I actually think that I could go pro in. If I had to answer the question, I would say something like, you know how they show cornhole on ESPN? Like, you got to have zero.
I'm not good enough for that. I've seen those.
No, I'm not saying like I'm terrible at cornhole, but if it's a sport that I have my best chance, I have the best chance of being in an unathletic, I throw a beanbag onto a board.
You could hold a beer in one hand and play it in a sport.
I'm not suggesting that I have a chance of going pro in that, and I'm not even suggesting that those guys aren't athletes, but they're not. I'm just saying that that's probably a learned skill.
Yeah. At this point, I'm well past my prime. So there's no shot.
Yeah. Well past my prime. Goodness gracious. What's is it Toby Keith? I think it's Toby Keith. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I've ever been. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's about all I got.
I'm not sure that's right. That sounds about right.
I'm not sure that's right either. I'm not even sure it's Toby Keith. It might be somebody completely different. So I'm going to have Mitchell cut all this part out.
Mike Schaefer said it.
Yeah.
Mike Schaefer said it must be true.
Yeah. It's Michael Scott saying Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky.
All right. Yeah. I don't trust you to go pro in any sport. And that's my segue into building trust with our customers. So Matt, I really do think that building trust is going to be super important, especially in an organization like ours, but that's true with anybody else in the world. It's been said before that business moves at the speed of trust. When you think about how we service our clients, how we approach the market on new clients that don't even know us and we have no reputation with, What are your first thoughts when it comes to establishing or building trust?
I immediately went to our values. It's exact. I don't know if that's where we should have went, but I immediately went to our first value is own it, which means I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do 100% of the time. Our next value is challenge it. So with a client, I want to challenge them if they're not doing something correctly. I want to hold them accountable. Empathy for others. I need to make sure I understand where they're walking and understanding what is going on in their day and what impact their lives, personal lives, are having with where they are. I think about our passion for our purpose, which is I really want us to believe in helping. I want my best interest is in helping them succeed, which means if I'm living those things, and our other one's team first, I'm going to put our team before our customer because I know, and it's also not just, it's team before me. So I'm going to help others, be it my customer or my client or my team, to make sure that we are taking care of our customers and our people the best way we can. So I immediately went to the values of owning it. That's why I start with trust. Is you have to trust that I'm going to do what I'm going to say I'm going to do 100% of the time.
Yeah, I think about this as really just being foundational. It can't be overstated. Even so, we've spent this past year completely revamping our entire sales and marketing methodology, philosophy, the practice overall. And it is all built on how can we establish greater trust quicker. Because without that, um, we have no leg to stand on. We don't have any footing. And I think about, the most important thing that we can do is establish trust with the customers that we're servicing, or just people that are that we're talking to in a sales conversation. Because without it, we have no chance of actually doing anything. But what trust gets us is an audience. So that's what allows us to then speak truth into somebody's life, tell them what they're doing well, what they're doing wrong, what they need to improve on, make suggestions, make changes. And without that, we're just not going to get anywhere. That's pretty
Yeah,
easy
I
to
like.
see in a company like ours, but you think about a Wendy's or a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A. If you go there, what are they promising every single time? Consistency. So now I can trust what if I'm going to go to McDonald's, I can trust that that Big Mac is going to be the same here down the road versus over in Europe because they've established trust in that product.
Yep, I 1,000% agree. And I also think, as you talk through the levels of the hierarchy of trust, you know, you have to have trust in the person across from you so that you can have the right conversations and the conflict that's going to come from those conversations in a healthy way. I need to be able to tell my client, hey, you're spending more money than you're making and you've got to make changes, or hey, you've got to do a better job of not hiring out of desperation or hiring the first person that shows up at your door. I need to have those open and honest conversation with them. I'm going, you're not going to be the business owner you want to be if you keep doing this. Well, it's hard to do that if they don't trust we don't have a relationship built on trust, because I'm not there trying to tell them something. I'm looking for their best benefit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with employees. When we're having difficult conversation with our employees, it's the same logic of going, I have to have established enough trust in you that I'm here to help you. And as my role as your leader, I'm going to be honest and open and talk about the things that are uncomfortable so so you get the best out of yourself.
Yeah, trust. I think of trust as a bank account, and as long
Yeah.
as I'm making deposits, big or small, into that bank account over time, then eventually at some point I can make a withdrawal. And if I try to make a withdrawal without actually putting any deposits into that bank account, they're going to look at me funny at the teller booth. And so it's my
Yep.
responsibility, and both my customers, the team that I lead, all of the things, to make sure that I am spending time doing little things that builds trust within the community that I'm a part of. And so
Yep.
when you think about that, Matt, what are some of the things that you do to build trust? Let's say with your employees.
Um, I start with empathy. I want to understand where they're coming from. I want to be consistent. So I don't want to make rules for one person that isn't the same rules for somebody else. Um, I want to show up with consistency and with what I do, what I expect. I don't want to change the rules on them. Um, I want to I want to make sure they feel and know that I truly care about them from the day from before they start with us. Like,
Mhm.
I also want our overall business model, our my philosophy that everybody has to win is a part of that trust factor of going, I'm not just trying to, I want to put everything into the container of trust with all about aligning it with our overall values. And so if our value is is owning it, I have to own it and be accountable just like they do.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Now, what about with your customers, especially maybe somebody that's not a customer yet, but that you're trying to win? What are some of the things that you can do to show trust there?
I think it's asking them, or it's being super transparent with them, um, and not. I think about the questions we want to make sure we're asking today and answering today, being open and transparent with them all along the way, and once again, doing what we say we're going to do. Like, so, hey, I'm going to send you this email about this thing. Great. And I'm going to have it to you by tomorrow morning. I'm going to have it by you by tomorrow morning. Like, it's not, I want to just keep building that, that trust. And then, you're using, I can't be the only voice in that. It has to be a consistent voice between me and the sales team and our onboarding team and our other customers that have been using us for a while. They know that this is exactly true. They're going to get all that credibility from everywhere and believe that. But if the first thing we do is say we're going to send an email by tomorrow morning, and the first thing we do is don't do that, I just took a withdrawal and I haven't made enough deposits yet. I got to keep making deposits and keep making deposits. And I want to make sure that they're knowing that we're not here it's not selfish why we're here. We're really have the mindset we're here to help them.
I think it's alarming that do what you say you're going to do has to be, uh, people have to be reminded that that is important. Like
Yeah.
but it's such a low bar that it is established, especially in corporate America, in different bigger organizations, that they just don't do what they say they're gonna do, and it's sad that that is true.
It's almost a guarantee. I mean, like it is sad. Like, and I would say, and I've told this to people over the years, hey, if I told you I was going to send you an email by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and at 9:30, I know I'm not going to own that and say, I'm not getting you that email by 10. I am going to have it to you by 2. I want to pre-communicate that, not post-communicate
Yeah,
that. That's okay. I made a deadline that I could not live up to. I want to own up to that. I can't make it.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's part of it. And it's a low bar. It is such a low bar. If my lawn guy says at my house says he's going to mow my yard every week, and then I go two weeks and it didn't get mowed, if he just said, hey, we've gotten behind because of weather, I'm fine. If he doesn't say anything, doesn't show up, I'm not happy.
yeah. Oh, I think right.
It's the same thing.
Really, what you're highlighting there is that uncertainty is as a big trust
Yeah.
breaker. I'm not. What's going on? Nobody communicated. Nobody told me something. I don't know what to expect now. That uncertainty is really going to start to cause doubt.
And where we can drop the ball, I mean, just like anybody else, hey, somebody drops off their tax stuff and they drop it off in mid-February, and we tell them it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll be reaching out with questions. Well, now it's 3-4 weeks and we haven't reached out with questions
Yeah,
because we're behind and we haven't communicated. Now the client's going, what the hell's going on over there?
yeah. Lack of
It's
communication.
the same thing. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, to that point where I struggle with that stuff is a lot of times, not a lot of times, but enough times where I'll get an email or a phone call or something, and it is, all right, the clear action items that are coming out of this is XYZ, but I don't ever close the loop to say, hey, I'm taking care of XYZ. I just go do it. And I never communicate
Yep.
back that it's been done or that it's completely resolved or whatever. And I'm letting that other person be open-ended, like, well, I don't know if this is done or if it's not done or if I need to follow up. And Now my
Yep.
lack of communication is starting to make withdrawals from that trust bank to where they doubt that what I've said is
Did you
true.
see the email?
And the
Did you
reality
see the
is
email?
the problem's already been resolved. Like the
Yeah.
issue that came up is gone. I didn't communicate anything about it. And now I haven't actually fixed a problem. I've caused another problem. And like, oh man, it's so important to make sure that that loop is closed and that communication's happening. And that is one of the things that I struggle with.
Yeah. And I think that is common. I mean, you get an email and you're like, okay, I got an email. I know what to do. I don't need to
Yep.
call them back. I need to tell them I got it. But just that little extra bit does take that level of uncertainty down because they're afraid they didn't see the email, or that, oh, maybe he forgot, or
Yep.
maybe never went through. I hit the wrong email address, whatever it was. And so it just creates that level of doubt that you don't want to have. And I think that's just building up trust. With our sales team and our marketing team today, I really think about this as they're getting to know these people, to make sure that we're a good fit, but they're also making sure that we're a good fit. And I just want to make sure that they understand that right from the beginning, we're going to be transparent and open. If we find something that we don't think we're a fit for, we're going to tell them. And likewise, it's okay for them to say, I don't think you guys are a great fit for us. And that's fine. I want to make sure that we are both open and honest throughout that whole process to make sure that we are the right fit for them and they're the right fit for us.
Yeah.
I want to be successful, and I want them to be successful. And if that's a mismatch, we need to make sure we're
Yep.
overly communicative about that.
Yeah. And to be fair, when you do that, you've built trust because now I can rely on Matt Patrick to tell me that he's not the best answer or there's a better answer out
Yep.
there. And so there's value that's exchanged in that conversation. I would venture to guess that 90% of any time that we've ever lost a client, it's been a breakdown of trust at some point. They don't
Yeah.
trust us to do the things that we said that we were going to do. We don't trust them to do the things that they said they were going to do. Most of our customer support issues, to the extent we have them, are probably centered around a lack of trust somewhere.
And we talk about that in terms of relationship. You haven't built up the relationship to have the trust you need to have to get that client to communicate. Hey, you said you were going to take care of my tax return by March 15th, and it's now March 30th, and I haven't heard from you. Well, our people should have opened up the communication channels. And I think we talk about relationship a lot, but really it's trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, we talked about doing what you said you're going to do. What are some other ways that we can build trust, make those little micro deposits into those relationships so that if it comes a point where we need to make a withdrawal, that we have the chips in the bank?
I think it's caring. I mean, I think caring and empathy, go hand in hand. I think empathy is the walking in their shoes. And I think of that as, I have a new business owner that doesn't know anything. I can't assume what I think they're doing every day, what they know, what they don't know. Long-term business owner, even they may have gotten distracted by 14 other things going on. Hey, we talked about this being your goal. Is this still your goal, or did your goals change? I feel like the more we understand what's going on, relationship, trust, empathy, all goes hand to hand. I look at that going, and when we talk about with our people, it's the same thing. Like, hey, this person is, it's not thriving in their role. Let's talk about what's causing some of that. We may find out that they haven't had the trust to be honest and go, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing, or how to organize my time, or I've got this one thing that I just get stuck on and I spin my wheels, and I'm afraid to ask the right question. I'm afraid that you're going to fire me when I finally tell you I don't understand this. I'm going, no, I want you to understand that we trust you enough to raise your hand and go, I don't know. That's okay.
So with your team then, a lot of the things you're talking about is just being really open in communication, empathetic. Is there a line for you as the leader of our company as a whole? Is there a line of transparency that's maybe too far? Is it possible to overshare?
Yeah, obviously there is. I mean, this is probably a mistake I've made, too much is early on, it's hard to be their employer and their friend. It's hard for them to see all the things behind the curtain. And I probably let people behind that curtain more than I should when we've had, a problem employee and I'm trying to figure out if we can fix them or get rid of them, or if we've had a bad customer and, you know, they're not handling the relationship right. There's a lot of cases where I've probably been too transparent with them. I'm not super I mean, I'm fairly transparent with our financial information. I mean, they all can do some basic math if they wanted to, but I want to protect their privacy enough in my own privacy enough. I've probably erred on the side of talking out loud things I'm struggling with more than I should to the wrong group.
In what ways does that come back to bite you?
Indecisiveness on my part. So I can kind of I could create a cancerous well for an employee because I'm not there at a point where I'm ready to make a decision on letting that person go or developing them. But now, because I talked about it with that person, maybe they've not going to give them a chance to develop, and I'm not ready to make that decision yet because I still think I have hope that they're going to be better. Likewise with a client, same thing. Hey, this client's almost on track. We just need to do a little bit of bumping them, back onto the street. And I let them go, hey, that client's never going to be good. Fire them. And I'm like, wait a minute. They were really close. We need to do a better job of communicating to get them the next step over that hump. And once we're there, they're going to be a great client for a long time, and we can truly help them. And I probably have tainted that too quickly by having the wrong people in that conversation.
Yeah, that's interesting. When it comes time to make those withdrawals from your trust bank account, I think you're going to be very excited to see all those little micro deposits that you've put in over time. Because when you need it, man, it is so important when that other person is like, you know what? It's all good. Hey, there's a mistake that happened, but we'll get through it. I remember a little bit related to that is I remember we had a client once that was dealing with some stuff. They couldn't get it resolved. Finally, it hit my desk. And I just got on the phone, talked with him, apologized profusely. And their words were, I'll never forget this. This is probably 8 years ago. And he said, listen, I understand that people make mistakes, and I'm not mad at y'all for making a mistake. I need y'all to quit making the mistake and get it fixed. And I was like, that's fair. Like, that's reasonable. We will stop making the mistake that we're making over and over and over again and get it on track. And all that came down to, I like you guys. We've spent time over the years building trust, but you're starting to take too many withdrawals from this bank account, and I need you to fix it. Without those little deposits that we had put in over time, we would have never had that opportunity. But he trusts us enough to say, this is a problem. It has to get fixed. It's been an ongoing thing. And if it doesn't get fixed, there's going to have to be decisions made. And that really stuck with me because it highlighted a couple things. One, it highlighted the work that we typically do on an ongoing basis to build trust with our team. But it also was a great anchor point for me to be able to go back to our team and say, look, we did a lot of things right for this client, and we're starting to screw some things up, and this is what that looks like. And so we got to both celebrate all of the things that we've done well, but also let's look at the things that we need to fix and address those things. And so those little deposits over time are super important.
Oh, I always think of it as when we do make a mistake, because of the trust we built up, one of the biggest trust builders we can have is when we make a mistake.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, we've told you over and over again that if we make a mistake, we're going to fix it and make it right, whatever that means. And when we do that, we make a deposit instead of with the withdrawal, which is really interesting to me.
Yep.
And our client goes, oh, you guys are great. Like, that's when we have the best chance to win.
Yep. It goes back to, we're doing the things that we said we were going to do. Because I don't think that anybody here promises that we're going to be perfect. If they do, then they need to fix themselves, because that's not true. We're not going to be perfect.
I'm perfect, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. I know that. Well, we know you don't make mistakes, but everybody else does.
No, everybody else. I'm like,
that's right.
Trust
that's right.
me, I make plenty.
And so it is an opportunity whenever, because we frequently say if we do screw something up, we're gonna own it. There was a big event that we screwed up 2 years ago. That was a 6-figure we screwed up, and
Yep.
we were
We
on the
didn't make it right.
phone for the next probably 3 days with every single client that we screwed things up with, apologizing, telling them exactly what our plan was. And anyway, those things were all, it's unique because those are all opportunities to really show that we're going to, every time that we've told you that we're going to do the right thing, this is us actually following through with that. And it turns
Yep.
that withdrawal into a deposit, which I think is a really good point. And so, yeah, great place to end. Thanks, Matt, for joining us again. Remember, build trust. Find ways to build trust, every little way that you could possibly find to build trust. Do what you say you can do, all the things that we talked about today, and you're going to be in good shape. So I'm going to have an ask of you in an effort to see if I can trust you to do what I'm asking you. I'm going to ask you to click that like button or subscribe, share the episode with a friend, and so that we can get more eyeballs into the One Step Better Business podcast. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a great day.